Hello everybody. Welcome to iExamB's Legal Bee. This is Amrita, your law faculty here at iExamB. Embrace the iExamB learning experience with us. And if you are preparing for any competitive examinations after your LLB, then you are at the right place. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel Legal Bee. Stay tuned with all the beneficial videos for your exam preparation. Here at Legal Bee, we provide you videos for content as well as strategic preparation for various exams like SEBI, RBI, IBPS, SO, IBPS, RRB Law Officer, etc. इन सारे एग्जाम्स के कोर्सेस आप iExamB के वेबसाइट पे जाके चेक कर सकते हैं, डेमो भी एक्टिवेट करके देख सकते हैं. If you have any queries, you can reach out to us by writing us an email on hello@iexamb.com. Call us on this number 920552408 and don't forget to subscribe. Prepare 50% faster with us for your job preparation. In this video, I will be continuing with Code of Civil Procedure questions only. 300 most important MCQ series which is being continued for SEBI graded legal officer examination. अगर आपने बाकी के videos miss कर दिए हैं, then 10 earlier videos I would suggest you all to check it out in the playlist of Legal Bee. Which of the following is not included in the powers of appellate court? To determine the case finally, to remand the case, to take additional evidence, to frame issues and refer them for trial. All of the above are included in powers of appellate court. So what is not included in the powers of appellate court has been asked over here. So the correct answer is E. All of the above are included in the powers of the appellate court. Appellate court is not having any limited powers like revision or reference. Appeal is having wide powers. Section 107 of CPC talks about the powers of appellate court. All of these have been covered over here. A judgment passed by a court can be reviewed by the court passing the judgment, the court of district judge, high court, supreme court, all of the above. So a judgment passed by a court can be reviewed by whom? It can be reviewed by the court passing the judgment itself. The powers of review are exercised by the court which is actually passing the judgment itself. Section 114 talks about review. I would suggest all of you to be very clear with what is review, what is revision, what is reference, what is appeal. ये सारे basic concepts clear होने बहुत ज़रूरी है with the relevant sections. In second appeal, the reappreciation of evidence is permissible, not permissible, permissible on an application by either of the parties, subject to revision, none of the above. So in second appeal, the reappreciation of evidence is, answer is B, not permissible. Supreme Court has said that in a second appeal under section 100 of CPC, there is very limited scope for reappreciating the evidence or interfering with the findings of the fact rendered by trial court or the first appellate court. Decree against the Government of India or state government shall not be executed unless it remains unsatisfied for the period of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So when there is a decree that is against Government of India or Government of State, it shall remain unsatisfied before execution for how much time? For a period of 3 months. Section 82 of CPC provides for this time period. Like we have the notice period under section 80, we do have this period as well in section 82 of CPC. Decree means extract of the judgment, statement of grounds of an order, formal expression of the court of an adjudication, determining the rights of parties, adjudication of a right. So what is the meaning of decree? Decree means formal expression of the court of an adjudication, determining the rights of the parties. I would suggest to be very clear with all these definitions, especially decree, judgment, order. सेक्शन 2 में सारे डेफिनेशंस आप बहुत क्लियरली और अच्छे से पढ़ लीजिएगा. What is included and not included under a decree, that also is also subjected to MCQs many times in competitive exams. So be very clear with it. A right to counterclaim has been provided under Order 8 Rule 6A of CPC, 8 Rule 6B, 8 Rule 6C, 8 Rule 6D, 8 Rule 7 of CPC. Very easy. Answer is A itself. 6A of Order 8. Order 8 that is talking about written statement. In that 6A is counterclaim by defendant. But counterclaim is an important topic. So I would suggest all of you to study that. A garnishee is a defaulter, decree holder, judgment debtor, judgment debtor's debtor, judgment debtor's creditor. Correct answer is D, judgment debtor's dead. Judgment debtor's debtor actually. Word garnishee means a person who is debtor to the judgment debtor or against whom a decree has been passed. So, is a person on record in the court of law is responsible or liable to pay the debts to the judgment debtor and liable to deliver the possession of any movable property. So, in that case, why are we interested in the debtor of judgment debtor? Because when his debt will be satisfied, obviously he will be in a position to satisfy the debt of the court or the decree holder as well. Of the decree holder only in the court. Order 21, Rule 46A discusses notice to garnishee. When a court desires that its decree shall be executed by another court, it shall send to the other court a decree and a certificate of non-satisfaction, judgment and decree, judgment and execution petition and certificate of non-satisfaction, judgment and certificate of non-satisfaction. So in this case, the correct answer will be A, a decree and a certificate of non-satisfaction will be sent. Order 21, Rule 6 provides for this. Under Order 18, Rule 4, Clause 1 of CPC, the examination in chief of a witness shall be recorded by the judge, by the commissioner appointed by the court, by typing in court, on affidavit, as the court thinks fit. So under Order 18, Rule 4.1 of CPC, examination in chief of the witness shall be recorded by on affidavit. Rule 4 talks about this recording of evidence. In every case, examination in chief of a witness shall be on affidavit and copies shall be supplied to opposite party who calls him of evidence for evidence. List of witnesses after settlement of issues must be filed within 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days. Correct answer is A, 15 days. Order 16, Rule 1 deals with this. List of witnesses and summons need to be issued to the witness. So list has to be filed within how many days? After settlement of issues, it is settled fact that it should be 15 days. This period is mentioned here. Framing of issues is provided by which rule of CPC? Now this is again talking about rule, but I would suggest you to be aware if possible. It's very simple because obviously it is covered in the first rule itself. You have to remember the order number in this. Order 14. Framing of issues is an important step. Interrogatory shall be answered by affidavit to be filed within dash number of days or within such other time as the court may allow. So interrogatories shall be answered by way of affidavit. This is one thing which gets clear to us here from the question itself. But within how many days it has to be filed? 5, 10, 15, 21, 30. Correct answer is 10 days. And this is covered under Order 11, Rule 8. Affidavit in answer filing interrogatories shall be answered by affidavit to be filed within 10 days or within such other time as the court may allow. Any objection to interrogation may be taken on the ground that it is irrelevant, scandalous, not bona fide, privileged, all of the above. So when you are taking an objection to interrogation, that may be taken on what grounds? It may be taken on the grounds that it is irrelevant, or it can be scandalous question, or it can be not bona fide, or it can be privileged. Order 11, Rule 6, objections to interrogatories by the answer. Auction purchaser shall pay full purchase money within how many days? Now you all are preparing for such examinations where these areas become relevant for you. Auction purchaser and all these. Correct answer, out of this, within how many days auction purchaser has to pay the full purchase money? What is the number of days? Correct answer is 15 days again. Order 21, Rule 85, time for payment in full of purchase money. As per Order 10, Rule 1 of CPC, at the first hearing of the suit, the court must frame and record issues, record the evidence of plaintiff, ascertain whether the allegations in the pleadings are admitted or denied, direct the parties to opt for any mode of alternate dispute resolution, all of the above. Now, suit and the proceedings should be known by you in the form of a story, step by step. and then you can note down the relevant orders and rules over there. Like this, you can study this area. Correct answer over here is ascertain whether the allegations and pleadings are admitted or they are denied. Order 10, Rule 1 of CPC deals with this. Ascertainment whether allegations and pleadings are admitted or denied. An ex parte decree can be set aside on the grounds that summons were not duly served, non-appearance of defendant as copies of documents filed within the plaint were not provided, second summons were not issued when the defendant refused to receive the first one, all A, B and C are valid grounds. An ex parte decree cannot be set aside under any circumstances. So the correct answer is A, summons were not duly served. On that ground, ex parte decree can be set aside. Order 9 deals with ex parte and dismissal in default. In that, Rule 13 deals with setting aside ex parte decree against defendant. This is an important area. Ex parte decree and then setting aside that. What can the court do when neither party appears when called for hearing? Ex parte order, refer for arbitration, stay of the suit, dismissal of suit, refer for conciliation. When neither of the party appears when it is called for hearing, the correct answer is that it will be dismissed. It will be dismissed because the parties are not appearing. It's not a criminal case that the state or the court will be entertaining the case. This will be dismissal in default. In connection with a suit by an indigent person, the suit is deemed to be instituted on the date on which permission to sue as pauper is refused, on which court fees is paid, on which application for leave to sue as a pauper is made, on which permission to sue as a pauper is admitted, none of the above. So in connection with the suit by an indigent person, suit is deemed to be instituted on the date on which application for leave to sue as a pauper is made. This is covered under Rule 15A of Order 33. A and B sue C for recovery of ₹1,000. C has a debt due to him by A alone. Here, C can set off the debt against B, set off the debt against A, set off the debt against A and B both, cannot set off a debt due to him by A alone, either B or C. Correct answer over here is D, cannot set off a debt due to him by A alone. Order 8, Rule 6 of CPC. This illustration based question it is. Directly it has been picked here, from here, Rule 6 of CPC. Order 8. Last question for today and from the subject of CPC. On the retirement, removal or death of the next friend of a minor or under Order 32 Rule 10 of CPC, the suit shall be dismissed, stayed, rejected, either A or B, either A or B or C. So when the minor is there and retirement, removal or death of the next friend of the minor takes place, then what effect will be there on the suit? The suit will be stayed. This is covered under stay of proceedings or removal of a next friend on retirement. This thing will happen that the proceedings will be stayed until the appointment of a next friend in his place. I hope all of these content material questions are helping you all out. You can download the PPTs. If you have any queries, reach out to us by any of the following methods. Prepare 50% faster with us at iExamB. Download our app from the Google Play Store and check out the full course available even with the offline access. Thank you everybody. Have a nice day.